All right, we are back once again for another edition of the Astro Weather. And boy, do we have some weather. It is going bonkers across the southeastern and eastern seaboard of the United States with epic flooding. And we're going to cover some of that over on the other show, 15 Minutes of Flame, and try to make some sense of what's going on here. I also, for those of you who want more updates from Kerrville, I posted on Locals last night, and they essentially what they've done is the county commissioners have met, and in a time of emergency, they are allowed to push the property tax to a maximum of 8.8%, and currently it's at 3.5%. Now, what they've done is they have voted to raise the tax limit. They have not pushed the button and said, okay, this is the new level of property tax, but they had to essentially activate it before they could do that. And it's become uh, a cause of concern for people in this area, namely for the timing. While we're still in the midst of an emergency, they're going behind closed doors. But let me just say that you can attend a county commissioners meeting. And the reason I know this is because there was a person there, and they're just putting everything in place to hit people who are already struggling with an 8% property tax. Now, this is prior to whatever state funding comes through. Of course, Greg Abbott was here and he was vowing to help the community and get into Texas is a shit ton of money. If they wanted to, they could solve this just by snapping a finger. So the state money, the federal money has not come through. They're going to have a special session next week, and the general feeling is that a little bit of decorum here would be called for. To just wait a week or two to see what these other governing bodies are going to do before you go rush to just start throwing more money at the problem. But when you really get down into the nuts and bolts of it, the issues here are deeper than just a either power hungry or panicked group of officials who want to make sure that whatever happens next, they're not blamed for. And I get into some of that in the article, and into the history of Kerrville's relationship with Biden's American Rescue Plan money, which was offered to all these cities that were basically 25,000 people or less, which Kerrville qualifies for. And they had a very tortured relationship with taking that money, which, by the way, I understand. But they wound up taking it anyway, or at least a portion of it, 70% of it. And where they divvied it up, well, that's a whole other story. But I get into this in greater detail in that article. It's grimy. It's not a fun. It's none of this is fun, but it's the sort of the it's what goes on behind the scenes, and there's a history of like kicking the ball, just kicking the ball down the field. And they've been doing this for an early warning system since prior to Hurricane Harvey. That's how long. Now, let me just be fair about this, and we'll get into the weather in a second. I'll talk more about this over at 15. The town that was the recipient of most of the damage, Hunt, is not part of Kerrville, and I'm not even sure it's part of Kerr County. So we're getting into this unincorporated area, and that was the area that obviously needed. When I say early warning system, like an audible series of very loud alarms that people could hear along the banks of the Guadalupe River. Now, I received loud messages on my phone, so I knew it was happening, but not everybody was getting them apparently. And now everybody's looking for blame. Why didn't this happen? Who didn't do this? In some ways, it's a silly exercise because there's a really good chance this won't happen for another 30 or 40 years. Although you don't really want to adopt that attitude because it might happen a year or two from now again. And so, what do you want to do? You want to make sure that your bases are covered. Uh, it's a pretty bad look overall for the city and the county. And anyway, I get into that, and so I'd heard about this earlier yesterday, where they were literally going behind closed doors and voting on this. What wasn't really bad. Well, they just did it, and people showed up at the meeting, but it wasn't like they were making this big announcement. It was just a county commissioners meeting. And so I'd known about that, and that's where I started to write about it. And then I went on to X, and there was a woman who was at the meeting and posted something. And I'm going to be reading excerpts from that thread, and it just goes to show you how divided we are as a country, and that people can't even really agree upon what the right and tasteful response around something like this is very odd. But it's not. It's not. We really are very much a country divided. And I and here we have a disaster. And you would think that disasters would bring people together. The Once you get government involved, government does a really good job of driving a wedge between people. All right. Let's see what's going on here. Yeah, Stephen, the Mercury retrograde part is a really important astrological piece around this, which will be addressed. There he is, DJ MC. The dream of most older men after buying a boat, finding out they have crabs. It's pretty funny, new next. Jackie Delaria. It's a beautiful day. Jackie's in Jersey. Jackie must live on the sunny side of the street, man. Literally, figuratively. Night sight. What's happening? Feels like a snake shedding its scales as Mars approaches the south node. Even a lot of things behind that don't serve me. Yeah, we got that Mars south node conjunction up. Releasing. That's what happens when we have planetary action on that south node. Absolutely. So it's really funny. Like I've just been feeling, it's 'cause I'm not trying to make any excuses here, but I'm really busy, really busy. I'm either streaming, working with people, and putting together content for new shows. And so I have been kind of out of touch a bit with locals, and I just had a lot to say or have things to say about what's going on here. And so being active and engaged on locals with this Mars conjunct my South Node in Virgo has actually been helpful for me to be re-engaged with locals again and provide people with content. So I would say that that's a good thing. There are some other things about this Mars South Node. On Monday, I was flat out exhausted, and I know I'm not the only one. There were a lot of people that were really tired on Monday. And I was looking at some of the sun stuff and solar flares, and I couldn't really see anything on Monday. I was on the space weather side. It seemed relatively normal as far as I can tell, though I'm no expert in these matters. And yeah, I was exhausted. I slept until 10:30 on Monday. I couldn't really do anything, and then I fell asleep again later in the day. It was just like a major um, kind of crash out physically. So I'm going to attribute that to transiting Mars being on the south node of Virgo. Brandy Herrera is here. Hello, Brandy. Devin Dewar, Double D. Let's see. Barbara, busy day today. I'm dancing tonight at the Virginia State Danceport Camp. It's 3 days, but only doing one, club dances. Those would be the bachata, the hustle, salsa, samba, West Coast, 3 times each. I've seen Barbara dance. Barbara can dance. I want to see Barbara doing the hustle. Barbara, can you get us some video on that? And when you do the hustle, do you do the hustle to the hustle by who? Van McCoy. And the hustle was generally regarded as the first disco song. Hi, Susan. Good to see you misbehaving too. Stephen Jupiterian checking in from San Francisco. Let's see. Private Annie Scott. Oh, hi. Oh, how easy is it to write in a positive way when you're actually depressed? You can do it. You can do it. It's possible. That's what I've been working through. You can do it. Let's see. There she is, the lovely and talented one. Savian Austin, one, two at a time. Moira and NYC, hoping you're dry there, Moira. There's our guy Wit from Ruidosa. A little drier today than last week, I'm assuming. Catherine Rosen's with us. Hello, Catherine. I heard Bondi was suing Maha to keep Florida in water. No, man. This administration has become a Chinese fire drill. Let's see. Ryan's here. Hi, Ryan. Been, uh, been to this rodeo before. I have natal south node in Virgo. Mars can suck it. There you go. Become a member of Locals. I've been very productive over there. Very productive. You're getting your Locals worth. Thank you, Ryan. Lisa Ann White's here. Laura E's here. Tom is here. And guess what Tom is saying? Hit the like and subscribe if you like the show. Please do that. Trump said some dumb things to reporters with his J-ish handler next to him. So his handler next to him was this is money guy, right? The guy, it's not Scott Bessent, it's not Sachs, it's the other guy. Anyway, that guy that Trump was next to bought a building from Les Wexner. Like, I'm just going to throw that up to privacy. So the guy next to him actually bought a building from Les Wexner, who was one of the main players in the Mayor Group. Like, could you have found somebody else to flank you, Donald? Oh, yes, a cup of coffee would be nice. Thank you, Ryan. Sharon Lewis, checking in from West Florida. We got Glemma. Hi, Glemma. Right after the show, I'll be blasting out more rays of sunshine over on Rumble. Let's see who else we have here. West Coast swing. Noel Way. What's up, Noel? We're getting a lot of rain locally when the models call for 3% chance all morning. Diane Evans. Hi, Diane. Janine's here. Hi, Janine. Rainy monsoon has finally hit. Janine is in Arizona. There you go. Let's see. Esperanza Vance. Hello. Always nice to see you. If you'd like a reading, that's where you go. Thank you, Ryan. Once again. Oh, Bondi suing Maha to keep fluoride in the water. What the fuck? You know songs in my head right now? In Excess for Pam Blondie, Suicide Blonde. Thank you, Tom. Yes, I'll be at the Bridge event. I believe there's still a discount if you want to come join us at this very cool hotel just outside of Dallas. David's going to be there. We're going to have dancing DJs. There'll be UFOs. There'll be aliens. There'll be teleportation technology. There'll be 5D ascension opportunities. So it's a really good deal and value if you want to beam off the planet. Come join us. What's up, Grant? Michelle Renee is here. Hi, Michelle Renee. Yes, Barbara, we wish you nothing but a great experience, and may the flow of all the dancing gods be rippling through your spirit. Desi Log, my energy's been off and good, but he did cook a yummy seafood marinara. Oh, that's a way to start your night. No doubt. Let's go back to the Rumble thing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I wonder if the flooding has to do with the tunnels. I'm sure there's somebody out there somewhere that has that conspiracy in their back pocket. I just feel like something like that is like if you're going to flood tunnels, just be more specific about it. Don't do as much peripheral damage because the peripheral damage is not good. So that's my 2 cents on it. Let's see who else we have here. IK4. Hey, what's happening? Oh, look at this. So, oh my God, our taxes are being raised 24% in Delaware. That is insane. I am sorry to hear that. Hey, we got Orlando. What's happened to Orlando? Let's see. That's crazy. Magic Cat with an ICK. What's going on? We lost our major hospitals with trauma units. Yeah. Oh, look, the BBB is not going to be kind to rural hospitals. That's that's the gift that's going to keep on giving. Yeah, Desi, I agree. The shit that goes down when people are going through traumatic times in the early days, people are still in shock. Yeah, let's raise your property taxes. Here I'm complaining, Ryan. That's ridiculous. Neil Smith is here. Hi, Neil. My neighbor already pays $17,000 a year. And what do they get for those services? Please. Kelly B's here. This was the area where, yes, yes, we've covered that in great detail. SL Sully, um, after 1987, all these towns, you know, Josie lives here in Texas. She's absolutely right. After the 1987 flood, which claimed significant amount of lives, property loss, damage, you're absolutely right. There should have been no excuses. They should have had early warning systems in every floodplain in Texas. I totally agree with you. They just keep kicking the can down the road, and it's just not a good look. I'll get into more of that over on 15. Cosmic Detective is here. Hello, Cosmic. Woke ones. Revolution from Del Rio. What's up, woke ones? Scrubbies with the name check. Magic Mika. Oh, coming from the Castaldo household. Hi. Tell Ross I said hi. Jay Schaefer is here. Jay, I had a nice little conversation yesterday. Susan Gort for High is so weird. Most cities have trains. Those whistles are super loud because I don't have tracks near me and I can hear them. No trains here. Christine Mose, they still believe they can vote their way out of this. I know, it's insane. It's just insane. They just keep stacking the lunacy. Harry Bowie's here. Hey, hey, hey. Ratchet Boo, Laura E. We're almost up to speed here. Let's see. The energy's bloody low. Man, Monday was just brutal, 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 brutal. Mars crossed my ascendant and now crossing South Node. I've been sleeping nonstop. I think there's a common theme there for sure. Feral Granny. Now, this is one of my favorite new names. Feral Granny. I love that. Okay, what are we? 8:27. I guess I should get it. But I can talk to you people all day. But I can see when I talk to you, a lot of people are like, I'm out of here. I'm out of here. He's spending way too much time talking to those people. Just get to the astrology, man. Just get to it. I'm not here to just hear you ramble. I have been accused of rambling before. I'm okay with that. I'm really okay with being accused, but not too much. I don't want to ramble too much. There's a fine line uh, between rambling and doddering. I don't want to be accused of doddering. You get into doddering territory, and they got a place waiting for you somewhere. All right, hold on. All right. We got it. We got it. We got it. We got it good. We got it good. So throw this up here. Let's jam on the weather. Here we go. Let me just go back here and we'll make it look like that. And we'll blow it up. All right, let's just take a look at that. Mars South Node conjunction. It's right here, and it hasn't even crossed the South Node yet. And of course, Virgo rules things like efficiency and work and order. And Mars in Virgo is kind of manic in that area. And I think it's a real tricky transit. I mean, I can relate this to what's going on in Kerrville easily. So if we go to the other side, we have the true node in what? Pisces, which rules what? Water. That's right, rules water. And so here we have this Mars South Node Virgo conjunction. And there's a lot of conflict, tension, strife around people not doing the right thing, not doing the timely thing, not doing the simple thing. Like it's coming up from the past, right? The South Node represents the past. And I'm just giving you an example from here, Kerrville, and how Mars in Virgo is frantically working itself out to either place blame or find a solution. I mean, that's really what's going on here. And it's going to get worse. There's let me go back to the mayor of Kerrville. If he was a tone setter, which he's not, uh, there would be a tone that would be set for how people would interact with other people during a time like this. And the guy is like an invertebrate at this point. So there's no leadership. And when there's no leadership, people kind of scramble to CYA and cover their ass. And I feel like that's what's going on with this Mars Virgo South Node. Now, it is not only related to Kerrville, Texas. Look around you. Look around you, your environment, your workplace. Watch where people are trying to like cover their ass and shore up their sort of looking for shore up their value in some ways, to shore up their ability to be productive, right? You're going to see a lot of this with this Mars South Node. Look, I've even gone back on the locals and said, okay, this is a good opportunity for me to give you guys updates. But it's also like, I feel like I am obliged, I am obligated to give you content. And so for me, this crisis has been a good opportunity to re-engage in that space. And it's just something I just, it's like it's a timely thing. But it is part of that South Node, right? It's a way for me to get back in touch and demonstrate that I can be effective or engaged, right? So Venus moves faster than Mars. We know this. And it's going to pick up steam, and we're going to have this. It's already in square. And over the next 3 to 4 days, it's going to get even worse. It's going to get even worse. I mean, but first of all, both signs are theoretically ruled by Mercury. Now, I have no problem with Mercury ruling Gemini. I believe that the ruler of Virgo is Vulcan. And when I was a kid, I've said this story before, maybe about 6 or 7 years old, I had this idea, I had this image of another Earth that was in a parallel orbit with to us with the sun, and so we would never see it. Right? It would always be in a complete opposition to this Earth, and I always felt like that was Vulcan. And watching Star Trek spurred this in my little 6, 7 year old brain, right? Because Spock is the ultimate Virgo, right? Even like the V when he does this shit. William Shatner couldn't do this. I can't even really do it. And so Spock, Leonard Nimoy and William Shatner were both Aries, and they had this fucking rivalry. Right? It was like who has the biggest dick on Star Trek. That's what it came down to. And so Nimoy loved the fact he came up with this, by the way. He loved the fact that Shatner couldn't do the live long and prosper. And he never really did it, except for one episode where they had to glue his fingers together, which I think was funny. Right. So getting back to Mercury, like supposedly they both rule Mercury. Mercury rules both. Okay, well we'll just go with that. This is where Mercury's in conflict. And Venus in Gemini is very gossipy. It is always flipping the script and playing devil's advocate, devil's advocate, devil's advocate, devil's advocate, almost for the sake of playing it. Mars in Virgo is quite earnest. It's sort of hardcore get up in the morning, Cistercian monastic monk energy. And it is a caustic environment as it relates to relating and getting twisted up over the details. That's on the menu. I guarantee you it's on the menu. And the more Mars and Virgo tries to be what's the word I'm looking for? Pure, or wants to be um, kind of there is a bit of holier than thou with Virgo. Like if there's one sign that says my shit doesn't stink, it's Virgo. And Mars and Virgo has that in spades. And Venus and Gemini will cut that shit down to size. Right? So the worst thing that anybody could be involved with would be to try to virtue signal through Mars and Virgo. It is not going to work well. It is not going to work well. The Venus and Gemini will shred it easily. And we're in this zone for about 5-6 days. We blow it up and we go into Trump land and Epstein, and it's contentious. It's really contentious. And I'm not saying all of this is bad, by the way. Some of it needs to come out. Mars in Virgo has this capacity to appear virtuous, selfless, right? It's not always that way. Everything, every sign, every person has some degree of self-interest. And Venus and Gemini, trust me, is quick to point that out. So hypocrisy will not stand under this square. On the other side, there can be very good intentions with Mars and Virgo, but because people are so jaded now, there's such a high degree of cynicism that this Venus Mars square doesn't even allow for something good or pure or innocent or real to even take root, because Venus and Gemini will take exception to it. When I go on into Rumble and I show you this Twitter thread, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about as it relates to the tax issue here. The sun is still here in Cancer, third decan. Pisces, water, 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 more water. Can we get more water? And right now, the biggest square is with Chiron, and Chiron in Aries. Yeah. And Chiron by degree is coming in square Pluto. So we got a bit of a T square there. And with Chiron and Aries, it almost feels like we're overtaxed. I mean, figuratively, it's like I probably shouldn't ask this question because I know what the answer is. Like, how much more do we really have to go through? Oh, oh, just wait and see. There's plenty more that you can go through. Oh, you think biblical flooding is bad? Just wait. I mean, it feels very much like the center is kind of uncoiling. And it's almost like we're losing the center. It's kind of what it feels like. I mean, if we're just let's just talk about top down. In Confucianism, the model is at the top um, is the leader, whoever. It could be the emperor, it could be the feudal lord, whoever. In Confucianism, that person has to be connected to the will of heaven. Okay. And you may ask yourself, what is the will of heaven? Well, in Confucianism, there is a series of guidelines for ruling. And when an emperor or a feudal lord follow those guidelines, they place themselves directly underneath the will of heaven. And when the will of heaven, when they do that, then they can be a responsible steward and focal point for the will of heaven to work through them. And Confucius would try to explain this to all of these men who were in positions of power. Uh, the only problem is they didn't like following his rules of order. They just wanted power. And after a while, he would get kicked out. He'd get kicked out from province to province to province. And eventually, he winds up in Western China. And who does he meet up with? He meets up with Lao Tse. They are contemporaries. And there's a record of them having conversations. And Lao Tse says, the difference between you and I is that you point out truths that others do not want to hear. I point towards the way, which he's talking about the Tao. And I think that there is a coded sort of way of being inside the Tao, and it's in some ways much more mystical than Confucianism. But Confucianism is a practical guide, and nobody, after a while, it's like, get out of here. Your rules are too hard for me to follow. I just want more power, more yen, more concubines. Just get out of here. And we're kind of like that now, right? Like if you look at Chiron and Aries, and especially in this position, which is near the midheaven, see midheaven, right? And will of heaven. And Chiron and Aries, ultimately, now it's in this third decan. So it's in the Sagittarian decan, which makes it a bit more philosophical. And I think a lot of people are walking around feeling absolutely and utterly wounded. And what is the so called power of the individual? And it feels like the state is just a steamroller. Whether it's the BBB or Trump haranguing people for continuing to bring up Epstein, or hey, we're sending a bunch of arms to Ukraine now, right? This Chiron and Aries is like, well, hold on a second. Hold on a second. We have been out here on these front lines now for a while, and we have been uh, voicing what we need. I mean, Chiron in Aries is kind of the awakening of the individual. And it's like, well, I'll risk being unpopular or I'll risk being put down by other people because my opinion's unpopular. This is where we are with Chiron and Aries. This is an evolution of Chiron and Aries, which has been around now, going on almost what, 6 years? Very long Chiron transit. And we're at the end of it, right? With even with the retrogrades. And so when you get to the end of it, it's like there's this crescendo that's happening. And I think people here are just looking around. It's like, what the fuck do we have to do in order to be empowered? We decided that we're going to vote for this guy who is standing up for all the things that we believe in principle to be in alignment with what the individual needs. Because if you go back and you look at all the Biden stuff, it's all collectivism, right? But now, I mean, I just mean now, like today, with the sun in Cancer at 24, 25, 26, it's like there is this potential for real demoralization. Like, what the fuck is the use? And you get that Chiron square to Pluto, and there's this sense of, oh my god, finality, right? And then the Cancerian sun, which at this point with the square with Chiron, anything that can happen, people will take personally. This is kind of critical. Like these next 3 or 4 days with that sun Chiron square, the irritability, the touchiness, people are rubbed to the nub. They're rubbed to the nub. How much more can people take? I guess we'll find out. Now we do have the sun. When it moves into Leo, hopefully things will dry out. We'll start that Saturn Neptune trine with the sun. There can be some kind of rallying reformation for the summer that never was. We'll see. We'll see. We're also dealing with the first ingress of Sun Pluto opposition. I just feel like this is, and the Mars South Node conjunction. This is one of those periods where you have to get through it. You have to do things sometimes that you don't. It's like, I don't have the energy to do this. Well, you got to do it. You got to do it, and do your best not to complain. Nobody likes complainers. Nobody likes whiners, and I understand. I get it. It's kind of a heavy time, but just do your best to get through it. Channel a little stoicism, and then, yeah, and we're gonna have a Mercury retrograde to deal with too. That'll be fun, wouldn't it? Real fun. Anyway, let's get into our star of the day. And we'll do the old banneroo. There you go. All right. Today's True Hemp Science star of the day is Phil Helmuth. And some of you may say, who the fuck is Phil Helmuth? Phil Helmuth is a professional gambler, mostly known for winning the World Series of Poker. He also won a World Series of Poker event in Paris. And he has been very successful, not just as a poker player, but building a brand. So Phil Hellmuth's style is he's constantly fucking talking. He's always talking. And he feels like if he's always talking, you never know It's like he cuts down on his tells when he's talking because you have to sort through Helmuth's bullshit. So number one, he's got his son is in the 10th house, so he's prominent. This is a classic example of somebody with a 10th house son who is prominent. He is a gambler, and he has a sun sextile to Jupiter in Taurus, which is generally considered lucky for gambling. And it's in the 8th house, which is other people's money. And he has Neptune in the second. Now, this is interesting. This is an interesting discussion. There are astrologers who will tell you that Neptune in the second house is terrible for finances. And I disagree with them. And this is one of the, if you have taken my course, this is one of the things that you will come to know. Neptune in the second house is tidal. Tidal. It's tidal. Money comes in, money goes out. Money comes in, money goes out. You don't get attached to it. The guy's a poker player, right? If you're a poker player, you can't get attached to money because there are going to be days when all the cards are breaking your way and you're good. And there are other days when you're getting bad beats, you get hit on the river. The idea here is you still have to be good, right? This is the Tao of poker. It is really Neptune in the second house. He also has Pallas there, which in terms of pattern recognition gives him a bit of psychic and intuitive insight into how other people are playing. It's kind of a secret power that Phil Helmuth has. But he's always talking shit. He's got Mercury in Leo. He squares Neptune. So he's a professional liar. This is a great aspect for a poker player. If you're going to have a Mercury-Neptune square, and poker is a game about lying, why not turn it into a career? And this is what Phil Helmuth has done. This is an actual attribute of a Mercury-Neptune square. He also has a Mercury-Jupiter square and Neptune opposing Jupiter, and it can help him make money. And sometimes he'll lose money. But Phil Helmuth has built an empire. And he's built an empire on not just his poker playing, but on his brand. He's got Venus and Mars conjunction in Gemini. And again, chatty, 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 chatty. 9th house, he travels, he plays. You know, he's an international gambler. And then he's got the square going on Venus, Mars, squaring Pluto, Jupiter, Pluto, Uranus. That's risk taking, gambling. Now, the one thing I find interesting about Helmuth's chart is Saturn. He's got Saturn in the 5th house, and that's generally not a great placement for gambling. And then I thought about it. Well, first of all, it's in trine by degree with his moon, and it's also, what else? It's in opposition with Pluto, Uranus. Okay. So if you're going to play poker and get really, really good at it, you have to take beats. You have to be comfortable with Saturn in your 5th house, right? You literally have to be comfortable with it. If you're not, you're going to get out. You know, you're gonna have some bad beats. You're gonna lose. Like, not for me. Phil Helmuth has completely and utterly obliterated that. Now, he's born in Madison, Wisconsin. So if we were to relocate his chart and stick him in Las Vegas, that Saturn more than likely is in his 4th house. So that would mean count for something in terms of, but I just think he's willing to lose and to, like, if you have Saturn in the 5th house, which is pastimes, right? Pastimes, pleasure. If you have Saturn there and you spend a lot of time at a pastime and a pleasure, you'll eventually get good at it. But it's not like Jupiter in the fifth house, which is like just, stupid lucky. So Helmuth is an interesting character in that he has pushed through the limitations of Saturn in the fifth. He has adopted, I guarantee you, he's adopted the tidal policy of money in the second. This is how poker is. You have the chips, then you don't. Right? And even the terminology of like the river, that final flop, which is very watery. The river, it's like the Guadalupe. Is it going to take you down? Or is it going to take you downstream to where you need to go? It's a very interesting chart. He's got the true node in Cancer, and you would think that he would be a tightwad. Maybe he is. But again, the ninth house ruled by Sagittarius, generally considered a pretty lucky sign, right? So having those planets in the ninth, I do think gives him a sense that things are going to turn around, especially in Gemini. If you've ever watched him play, he can be a complete pain in the ass. And people will tell him to shut the fuck up. Just shut up, Phil. Now, he does have a mystic rectangle as well. And we know about mystic rectangles. It's kind of like cats that are thrown out of 10-story windows and they land on their feet. And he's got that Jupiter-Pluto trine, Jupiter-Uranus trine. That's big money, big wins. And when you get into the World Series of Poker, that's an 11th house event. That's a group event. You're there with hundreds of people. And so for Phil, I've seen him crap out in the second round. I've also seen him get to the final table. And again, he's built a brand. He's got all these professional sponsorships. I think he's done pretty well for himself, even though he is a bit of a pain in the ass. Anyway, that's your True Hemp Science Star of the Day, brought to you by True Hemp Science, your one-stop shop for all things CBD. Look at all that water he has in the, look at all that, man. That's just like completely tidal. Money up, money down, money up, money down. Yeah, so True Hemp Science, your one-stop shop for all things CBD. Spend $100 more. Type in 15MINS. You'll get the goodie bag with your order. And for a lot of people who have trouble sleeping at night, the sleep gummies are your best friend. They're your ally. Go find them. There's always a 30-day money-back guarantee. After 3 weeks, if it's not working for you, you can send it back. But at least give yourself the opportunity to try it, integrate it, work it into your daily health routine. All right, that's it for me here today. We'll be back tomorrow. And I'm headed over to 15. And we're going to be sorting through the muck and the mire of the Kerrville flood and also trying to, get through more of this Epstein miasma. And I have thoughts. I'll share them with you. Until then, take care of yourselves, treat each other well. God bless you all. Love you all. Bye for now. Robert Phoenix signing off.